Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in to the deepest kind of love, to the sweetest kind of life. Get ready, my soul. Everything I've ever done, everything I've ever seen, everything I've lost or won, everything I've ever dreamed has brought me here to the present moment here, seeing life so clearly now. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in to the deepest kind of love, to the sweetest kind of life. Get ready, my soul.
Silent. Listen. I find it interesting that both of these words are comprised of the same letters. For when I enter the silence, I find myself listening. It's not the same listening I use for traffic and birds and music. It's more like a beingness listening, an awareness listening, a stillness listening. It's more like when the snow starts to fall in the evening and there is that hush, that dark white silence. And when I step outside into that hush, the snow silence enters me, and I find myself deeply aware and listening to the silence. And as I listen, the silence falls into me like snowflakes. Admittedly, an odd analogy for an August day, but it's like that for me. The silence falls into me like snowflakes. Or perhaps it is that the hush rises up in me until I find myself utterly still and clear. What am I listening for, you might ask? And I would answer, I don't know. I never know. I just listen. The modern-day Christian, mystic Father Thomas Keating wrote, "The language of God is silence. Everything else is a poor translation." So perhaps I'm listening to God. There's a lot of noise in the world right now, a lot of noise from all corners. Do you perhaps feel like me sometimes that listening to all of that outer noise is overwhelming, confusing? That listening to all that outer noise makes your head spin and your heart heavy with despair and your fists clench with anger or frustration? In this time of outer turmoil and upheaval, the silence is a refuge from the disorientation of the manifest world, a place where we can retreat to find center again, to catch our breath, to reorient to the truth of who and what we are. It's what Unity co-founder Myrtle Fillmore calls a kind of stillness, a place of retreat into which we may enter, and having entered, may know the truth. A place to listen to God, and as stillness settles into us, to find clarity and inspired action. And it's important to note that the silence within can be had even amidst the noise that seems to exist without. There is silence in everything. This is something I'm learning. Unity minister Reverend Carolyn Mathlin writes that in the midst of all experience, whether we label it spiritual or human, is silence. Silence is the ground of all being. I invite you to close your eyes with me. Take a breath, and as you inhale, gather yourself and bring yourself fully to this moment, to the right here and now. And as you exhale, allow your body to settle down, to become quiet. Breathe gently in and out, bringing more and more of your attention to this moment and allowing your awareness to settle here. There's a Buddhist practice that teaches that when you hear sounds from outside, listen to them as the sound of silence. If you tell yourself that these sounds are silent, they become that way. If you tell yourself that they are noisy and disturbing, then they will be so. This was likened to listening to waves. At the apex of the waves, as they reach up the sand of the beach, at the very tip, there is silence. And after it retreats and readies itself for another go, there is another breath of silence. And if you keep listening, you will hear silence in the wave itself. There is silence in everything. Listen for it. There is God in everything. Listen for it. Find that deep silence that resides within you. And now allow yourself to just simply be aware of being. Be aware that there is a part of you that is aware of being. There is a part of you that is aware of the tightness in your neck and shoulders, that is aware of the thoughts you're thinking or trying not to think. Who is it that sees when you see? Who is it that hears when you hear? Who is it that thinks your thoughts? That part of you is consciousness itself, the I am that is one with the all that is. You are the I am expressing as you. This is the truth of you. Just sit for a few minutes in the silence. It's that simple. And when you wander off to solve this or that problem, gently bring your attention back to being aware of being. Be with the silence and just listen. There is one substance, and we are made of it, meaning that the very substance of who we are is love, is harmony, is wisdom, is intelligence. Let this knowing guide the thoughts we choose to express, the words we choose to express them with, and the actions we choose to take. Let us listen for the silence within ourselves, for the silence in each other. And in doing so, may we all begin to hear the language of God, the voice of God, in all whom we meet, wherever we go. And so it is.
Here I go, deeper, deeper, deeper than I've ever been before. Here I go, closer, closer, closer to my Savior. I'm diving in. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in to the deepest kind of love, to the sweetest kind of love. Get ready, my soul. It is my great pleasure to introduce back LaVon Hardison.
When he told you you're not good enough, when he told you you're not right, when he told you you're not strong enough to put up a good fight, when he told you you're not worthy, when he told you you're not loved, when he told you you're not beautiful, that you'll never be enough. Fear, he is a liar. He will take your breath, stop you in your steps. Fear, he is a liar. He will rob your rest, steal your happiness, cast your fear into the fire, 'cause fear is a liar. When he told you you were troubled, you'll forever be alone. When he told you you should run away, that you'll never find a home. When he told you you were dirty and you should be ashamed. When he told you you could be the one that grace could never change. Fear, he is a liar. He will take your breath, stop you in your steps. Fear, he is a liar. He will rob your rest, steal your happiness. So cast your fear into the fire, 'cause fear, he is a liar. Let your fire fall and cast out all my fears. Let your fire fall, your love is all I feel. Let your fire fall and cast out all my fears. Let your fire fall, your love is all I feel. Let your fire fall and cast out all my fears. he is a liar.
Matthew, you have the best friends. LaVon, thank you. Welcome home. Welcome home. Scotty, Jonesy, welcome to you. My name is Dr. Richard Loren Held. Again, it's my great honor, it's my pleasure to welcome you to an evolving, unfolding idea, which I like to call Unity in Lynnwood. For those with children, please note that youth and family ministries gatherings are launching at this very moment as well. Credentials are available to you simply by contacting the program director. Her name is Stacy Bailey. We invite you to avail yourself to the vehicles of support which we have created for you. Of course, visit unityinlynnwood.org, where you can meet your leaders, read blog posts, enjoy archived lessons, enlist prayer support, even download brochures. You may engage with UIL on the social media platform of your choice. You may download the Unity in Lynnwood app. It's free in both Android and Apple versions, and of course, click on the Breeze link provided in your chat window. This will allow text reminders and notifications. As always, if you'd like to stay in touch through periodic email messages and know we would never share or sell your information, just click on the link provided in the chat window. We will happily include you. If you've been with us for a while, clicking is also a great way simply to confirm that your information is current. Always, if you would like assistance with any or all of the above, please write or ring, click or call. Our staff is happy to assist. Practical spirituality, welcoming community. A mission statement, admittedly short on word, and yet I believe it to be so very broad in thought. And so every week I like to support this mission statement with one of the 6 bullet points which we created in partnership and collaboration with your Board of Trustees beginning in late 2014. Today I offer the second of the 6. It reads as follows: we seek to discover and share spiritual practices which are repeatable and reliable, and to infuse these spiritual practices into every area of our daily life. We call it divine wholeness. A divine wholeness session is a short time of being held in truth by another person. If you'd like to experience this divine wholeness with a prayer chaplain, there will be a Zoom link that will appear in your chat window near the end of this service. And I invite you to give yourself a gift that transcends time and space. If you find yourself wanting a telephone session instead, simply write prayer@unityinlynnwood.org starting now. You will receive a phone call from an anonymous number after the service ends. If you're a member in good standing and you'd like to be considered for a 3-year term of service on UIL's Board of Trustees beginning in January 2021, please write me directly for the job description and the application. Words. The importance of words seems to saturate our spiritual traditions. From Hebrew scriptures, we find, and I quote, death and life are in the power of the tongue. And rash words are like sword thrusts, but the tongue of the wise brings healing. Gracious words are like a honeycomb, sweetness to the soul and breath to the body. Or how about this one? If you want to enjoy life and see many happy days, well, keep your tongue from speaking evil and your lips from telling lies. There's a good one for all of us today. Really, Lord, keep my tongue from speaking evil and my lips from telling lies today. Let the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable in your sight. Even the earliest ideas set forth in the Hebrew scriptures begin with God said. God said. And from Christian scriptures, whoever says, there's that speaking idea again at the genesis of a creative process. Whoever says to the mountain, be ye moved, be cast into the sea, and doesn't doubt, but believes will have what he says. And how might the world look if more people acted in accord with this one? Do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful for building others up. I don't always do that one as well as I could, but I'm willing. I mean, you understand, sometimes I speak about what I need to hear. How about this one? If you claim to be religious but don't control your tongue, you are fooling yourself and your religion is worthless. How important is this idea in a world in which so many are willing to berate and belittle others with venomous words in the name of religion? The idea that a love of God might somehow require a hatred of creation is laughable. You can't love God and hate creation. You can't love God and hate your neighbor. If your religion requires hatred, if your religion requires judgment, coercion, arrogance, tolerance, even disregard, if your religion requires separation, reflect upon the merits of your religion, or more specifically, reflect upon the interpreter of your religion. It might be time for a change. Truly understood, religion is never about getting people to agree. It's always about getting people to wake up. This is not a competition. I think it was in the gospel account titled Matthew. Not all gospels were written by their namesakes, you understand, in which we find, and I quote, I tell you, on the day of judgment, people will give account for every careless word they speak.
There was once a kind-hearted man called Mr. Levy who had a problem. He spoke too often about other people. One day, he found out something scandalous about another businessman in town. Of course, he felt compelled to share what he knew with his colleagues, who told it to their friends, who told it to people they knew, who told it to their wives, who spoke with their friends and their neighbors. It went all the way around town, until the man who the tale was about heard it. He ran to the rabbi of the town and complained that his reputation was ruined. Nobody would like to deal with him after this. The rabbi knew where the rumor must have originated, and so he called Mr. Levy into his home and told him what had happened. When the man who spread the rumor heard from the rabbi how devastated his colleague was, he felt truly sorry. "What can I do to make it undone?" he sobbed. "I'll do anything you say." The rabbi said, "Do you have any feather pillows in your house?" "I do," he said. "Bring me one." Mr. Levy was confused, but he returned a bit later to the rabbi's study with a feather pillow under his arm. The rabbi handed him a knife. "Go to the top of the clock tower and cut it open over the edge," he said. "But Rabbi, do as I say," the rabbi interrupted. And so, Mr. Levy scaled the tower to cut the pillow, and a cloud of feathers flew out and vanished into the distance. The rabbi called Mr. Levy back and ordered him to bring back all the feathers and stuff them back into the pillow. He told him that not one may be missing. Mr. Levy stared at the rabbi in disbelief. "This is impossible, Rabbi. They're gone. Rabbi, I can't do that. You know it." "Yes," said the rabbi and nodded gravely. "That is how it is. Once a rumor leaves your mouth, you do not know where it ends up, and you can never take the words back. Next time, before you say something bad about another person, what we in Judaism call Lashon Hara, think about the consequences that it may have. Before you say the words, you control them, but after you say the words, they control you."
Isn't that a great little piece? Words. The importance of words saturates our spiritual traditions. And I have to believe that we are pommeled with words greater in number than any generation preceding ours. From our texting and tweeting to our emails and IMs to our televisions and computers, from talk radio shocking us awake in the morning to Jimmy Kimmel joking us to sleep at night. Words, and more words. Some might say that the same thing applies to Sunday morning. So many words. How can one person possibly have so many words? Now, I don't know about you, but do you ever feel yourself totally romanticized by the images of Little House on the Prairie, by the notions of Henry David Thoreau living alone in those woods, by the tale of Frodo and Sam enjoying a journey through nature, two friends with lembas bread, a water bottle, and that problematic ring. I mean, I don't know about you, but I think there's something in most of us that longs for a reprieve from words. There's something in most of us that longs to commune with the God of our being by withdrawing from the noise. The idea that I could sit on a front porch, maybe some fresh lemonade, a piece of hay dangling from my mouth. That may be a bit far right there. A piece of hay dangling from my mouth. But still, looking over a seemingly endless prairie to some mountain in the distance, surrounded only by the sounds of nature. Maybe a little banjo. Does that sound good to anybody else? Words, and more words. The libretto to the blockbuster Hamilton contains some 20,000 words, delivered at about twice the speed of other musicals. Our Judeo-Christian library, and you know that is what your Bible is, right? I mean, the word Bible refers to something of a library, a collection of little books which humanity came to consider as one book when the advent of the printing press made them look like one book. With its leather cover and its gilded edge, it was really from the appearance of that one book with its leather cover and gilded edge that the notion of the Bible as the inerrant Word of God took root. A little over 500 years ago, really. Prior to that, what we call the Bible would have been perceived, and I would suggest more correctly so, as a collection of wisdom writings by different writers spanning different eras and cultures, and even written for different audiences, even for different purposes. You see, the inconsistencies among the books of the Bible don't exist because God is tricky. They exist because humans are unique. But I digress. Our Judeo-Christian library seems to indicate that words matter. That words can help or hurt, build up or tear down, bring together or press apart. That words can limit or expand, sting or comfort. Words can affirm or deny. If you're like me, you grew up familiar with an adage that went like this: sticks and stones may break my bones, but words, you know how it ends. If you're like me, you grew up familiar with an adage which we've come to recognize as well-meaning, maybe, but deeply flawed, all in all. And I have to wonder if today's social media allows more hurt than ever before. It's been my experience that people say things about each other on Facebook that they would never say face to face. People say things about those they know that they would never say face to face, and the further removed the target is, the harsher the words become. It's as if the less human the target, the greater the permission to attack. So our celebrities, our leaders, our politicians, groups of real people who have real mothers and real fathers, brothers and sisters, groups of real people who have feelings and fears and hopes and dreams, groups of real people often reduced to some label. Oh, the homeless, the blacks, the whites, the rich, the poor, the gays. You got to watch out for the gays. Often get the worst of all. If you don't believe me, look at even a few from the comment streams specific to any political leader and consider whether certain comments would be delivered if the two people were sharing a cup of coffee over a kitchen table. Kill yourself was on one stream. And while it doesn't stop there, this is the only one I felt that I could repeat in this context any further, and I would have to wash my own mouth out with bar soap. That's another throwback to the era of sticks and stones, by the way. From religion to orientation, to ethnicity, to the color of one's skin, there seems to be no subject beyond the reach of cruelty. Perhaps my favorite biblical reference: a tiny spark can set a great forest on fire. And among all the parts of the body, the tongue is a flame of fire. So for today, imagining your tongue to be something of a great fire starter, extending its power well beyond your place, scattering its effects well beyond your time, imparting its fragrance well beyond any intention or outcome you might hold. Let's have the courage to ask, will the power, the effects, the fragrance of my fire serve to bring people together or to press people apart? Fundamental to the spiritual conversation, I think these are two ultimate questions. It was Desjardins who said it this way: all that ascends must converge. I like to think he was saying that as we mature spiritually, we come closer together, not further apart. What would you say about so-and-so if you were to say it to them over a cup of coffee across a kitchen table? Would you say it? Would you say it the same way? You know, this is one of the problems with modern life. We enjoy tremendous psychological distance from the effects of our choices. We save ourselves from seeing the pains of those we touch with our choices. And not only do we enjoy this psychological distance, we have cloaked it in a garb we call modern convenience so we can actually celebrate it. I work with a really tough idea. It's the idea that if I couldn't do it, whatever it is, because it's simply too unconscionable for me to consider, what business have I in essentially paying someone else to do it for me? If I couldn't cause the suffering, what business have I in paying someone else to cause it for me? What would you say about so-and-so if you knew they would hear every word? Because at a level of reality beyond this thick layer we experience as incarnate humans, they do. They hear every word. Again, imagining your tongue, entertaining the metaphor of the tongue as something of a great fire starter, extending its power well beyond your place, scattering its effects well beyond your time, imparting its fragrance well beyond any intention or outcome you might hold. Let's have the courage to ask then, will the power, will the effects, will the fragrance of my fire serve to lift people up or to press people down? Again, fundamental to the spiritual conversation, I think these two are more ultimate questions. And my encouragement is that you avoid getting into the mess of just how people will be lifted up. It was the great scholar and philosopher and metaphysician Neville Goddard who said something to the effect that the expanded you, that the soul of you has ways and means of which you are completely unaware. That ours isn't to dictate the how, but merely to declare the what. And I say this because when we allow ourselves to get into the mess of just how people will be lifted up, we allow ourselves to get into the realm of positionality. And at that level, the divide can be brutal. One might argue that we're experiencing something of that orientation right now. Instead of declaring words of equality and peace and beauty, we use words of platforms and politics and processes. We use words of personalities, and let's face it, personalities come and personalities go. Imagine if political leaders could come together, find those noble and transcendent words which are surely shared by all at some level, and speak those words together. Imagine political leaders returning in their hearts to the idea of equality and speaking that forth. Imagine political leaders returning in their hearts to the idea of peace and speaking that forth. Imagine political leaders returning in their hearts to the idea of beauty and speaking that forth, allowing these ideas to reveal a collective way forward, allowing processes to arise from principle instead of wallowing in the quagmire of who's got the best flow chart. I think it would be better. That's why I always say never demand that your good come through your checkbook. Instead, stand in a knowingness of God creativity, of God possibility, of God's sufficiency, and allow any apparent need to unfold toward its resolution, however it will. God has an infinite number of ways to deliver your good, you see. Sometimes your meddling isn't helpful. Now, it's a bit stark. I realize that. But here's how I like to think of the spiritual power of words. Our words are like knives which go before us to carve out niches and crannies of possibility that we can discover on our journey forward. Speaking a word of peace goes before us to carve out a possibility of peace that we can discover on our journey forward. Speaking a word of plenty goes before us to carve out a possibility of plenty that we might discover on our journey forward. Speaking a word of health goes before us to carve out a possibility of health that we can discover on our journey forward. The old saying goes, I will believe it when I see it. Missouri is called the show me state. I come by that honestly, you see. But spiritually speaking, it's really quite the opposite. Spiritually speaking, I'll see it when I believe it. At the level of consciousness, we have to carve out niches and crannies of possibility that we might discover them on our journeys forward. So yet again, imagining your tongue, entertaining the metaphor of that tongue being something of a great fire starter, extending its power well beyond your place, scattering its effects well beyond your time, imparting something of its fragrance well beyond any intention or outcome you might hold. Let us have the courage to ask, will that power, will the effects, will the fragrance of my fire serve to carve something of the new? Or something of that stagnant, same old habitual stuff, fundamental to the spiritual conversation. Yet again, I think these are two more ultimate questions. Are your words carving places of higher possibility or boring sameness? Are your words carving places reflective of your potentials and dreams and talents, or your failures and your fears and your faults? When someone pays you a compliment, do you respond by saying, oh, you give me too much credit, that's nothing? Or do you deflect it with an equal compliment as if you're involved in some sort of score-keeping game? Or do you step into it? I think collectively we are navigating some of the greatest stresses of my 55 years. The opportunity to practice these ideas will become more difficult in upcoming days, not easier. But so it is with all things spiritual. That they prove to be difficult doesn't render them any less true. That's why we call it spiritual work. Collectively, we're navigating some of the greatest stresses in my 55 years, and the opportunities to be defensive, to be caustic, to be cynical, to be toxic. They will be many. And yet the charge will remain. Will the power, will the effects, will the fragrance of your fire serve to bring people together or press people apart? To lift people up or to press people down? To carve something of the new or something of the old? If you were to send your words forth as knives to carve niches and crannies of possibility, that tomorrow's children might one day take shelter in them on their journeys forward, what would you carve? What would you carve?
Thank you, Dr. Richard. Phew. And now we've come to the time in our service where we have the opportunity to give back to our spiritual community so that it can continue to fully express as the divine idea that it is, so that unity in Lynnwood can be a force for good in this world. And in this time of virtual community, let us join our hearts and minds together and bless our individual offerings, knowing that we are one. And then while Matthew enfolds us with the high vibrations of song and sound, you'll have time to access the text to give or online donation option that will be posted for you in the Facebook chat box. So if you would, go ahead and take your offering. If it's a check, just go ahead and hold it in your cupped hands. Or if you plan to tithe online or by text, hold your intended amount in your hands, knowing that both are simply symbols of abundance. Close your eyes and know with me, know with every last thread of your thought, with all of your power, with all of your intention, with all of your being, that by virtue of your inability to be separate from the one substance, you are rich abundance itself. Go ahead and carve out that future with the words that Dr. Richard just spoke about. Let your tongue be that fiery flame. Carve out a future of abundance. Carve out a blessing on what you're offering today. And know that through the sharing of your abundance, of love, of wisdom, of life, of plenty itself, that you are, and thus we are, a blessing in this world. And so it is.
Chains holding me. I wish I could say all the things that I should say. I'll say them loud, I'll say them clear, for the whole round world to hear. I wish I could share all the love that's in my heart. my words, 'cause I know I'm saying, 'cause I know, oh, 'cause I know, 'cause I really do know, 'cause I know what it feels to be free. We shall overcome. Yes.
I bet you know what this means. Unity in Lynnwood is off to see the wizard on October 24th at 6 p.m. Please note the time change to 6 p.m. updated to accommodate our virtual East Coast guests. And speaking of virtual guests, please know that physical seats for Unity in Lynnwood's Benefit Gala fundraiser, There's No Place Like Home, are sold out. I repeat, physical seats are sold out. But you can still attend virtually. Just imagine in that 1960s color Kodachrome stuff. You seated comfortably in your own dining or living room, dressed in costume or your evening finery, eating a meal that was delivered to your home, while interacting via Zoom with guests who are dining here in our decorated sanctuary. When the meal is over, you'll tune in via your own private link to the evening program. What a magical way to spend an evening. We're so grateful for our sponsors this year, Julie Neumann, Mill Creek Family Services, and John and Barbara Thorpe. Please feel free to post some love for them in the chat window. And for those of you who will be attending on site, know that you will be escorted to elegant and physically distant tables. The room will be well ventilated and masked servers will pour wine and other beverages at your table. And Glenda, the Good Witch, has informed me that every effort will be taken to ensure exquisite sanitation in all regards. I am delighted to announce our fifth and final beneficiary, Pacific Science Center, located in downtown Seattle. Pacific Science Center is an independent, nonprofit science center in Seattle, Washington, with a mission to ignite curiosity and fuel a passion for discovery, experimentation, and critical thinking. PacSci, as it's affectionately called, also brings science education to the underserved through free or deeply discounted memberships. In 2019, PacSci served nearly 1 million people on site and through their many outreach programs. As this region's science center, and in the time of extended COVID-19 closures and virtual school, PacSci's continued mission is to ignite curiosity and provide informal science education, and it's more important than ever. More than 220,000 families, children, and educators have virtually visited by engaging in digital programming since March 2020. In summer of 2020, PacSci dedicated their Seattle Center campus to on-site camps for curious minds and taught 3,000 campers both in person and virtually.
Seattle is really a wonderful place for innovation and invention.
We have startups now that bring what is reality to life for people who have no idea about where all this future technology is coming from.
We've really brought into the building some of the latest, coolest technologies.
Get up! Go get up! We were flying, it felt real, you could see the wing. It was great.
It was crazy.
I can't wait till everybody can experience it.
Unity in Lynnwood is honored to direct a portion of the evening proceeds to support their important work in our community. To register, just click on the event link on our calendar page at unityinlynnwood.org. We look forward to seeing you at the end of the yellow brick road in the land of Oz.
LaVon Hardison, you may call this home anytime you like. That was fun. Thank you. And how proud I am to be part of a nonprofit organization that's supporting other nonprofit organizations during these unusual times. To register for any event, either visit the appropriate page on the unityinlynnwood.org website or click on a link provided. Join me and Reverend Nina on Wednesday evenings in September for a class entitled Discover the Power Within You, drawn from the great text by Eyck Butterworth. Offered virtually, this class presents the thesis that humanity can discover, accept, and demonstrate the same powers and potentials of the most enlightened among us. Eyck Butterworth calls humanity to embrace the work of Jesus, for example, as an example instead of as an exception, and our collective longing for a quantum leap toward heaven on earth. The second such opportunity is called White Fragility. It is a book study and practicum hosted on Sunday afternoons, 3 o'clock Pacific. This enjoys a national near-capacity audience. You're welcome to register by visiting the website yet again. I believe there are a few spots left. That'll be at 3 o'clock p.m. Pacific, 6 consecutive Sunday afternoons. The men's retreat is this Saturday, 6 days away. It'll be held on site, outside, at the wedding and event gazebo area. It's been redesigned as a condensed 4-hour work, play, eat format, starting at 9 o'clock, concluding at about 1 o'clock. The leaders write, build community through a shared group project, spiritual communion, and then fire up the grill for a relaxing barbecue lunch. Bring a lawn chair, bring an open heart, bring work gloves. There's no cost. We do ask, always, please register. UIL's social group hosts a redesigned Zoom stew. It's next Sunday, 6 o'clock. Share a meal Zoom style with loved ones and newcomers alike. Share recipes even. Then stay for some family-friendly Zoom games. Again, please register. Everyone is welcome. Join Interfaith at UIL Chair Rabbi Ted Falcon for Spiritual Saturdays, streaming here at 11 o'clock a.m. on Saturday, September 19th. Julie Neumann has created a video to invite you to our annual women's retreat.
Seattle is really a wonderful.
Hello, Unity in Lynnwood. Am I so excited about the women's retreat on the end of September, the 25th and the 26th. And I know having a virtual retreat sounds a little different, but I just have to tell you, I know it's going to be awesome. A lot of time and preparation is going into making sure that this is an interactive and fun event. So, walk a little bit on the wild side, try something different, make a retreat for yourself. I've actually booked myself a hotel room just so that I can make it kind of fun. Grab some girlfriends, do something different, give yourself this. Self-care, you really deserve it. See you there.
Reverend Nina Clark spent 2 hours on the telephone with Ricky Byers. The promise is that this will not be a sit and stare event. It will be dynamic. It will be alive. It will be awake. It's on the last weekend of September. The cost is only $75. And finally, while your Board of Trustees has extended the cancellation of on-site events through September, we are tentatively planning, careful words here, we are tentatively planning to allow 12 guests into the Sunday services in October. This opportunity will be offered by reservation only, facilitated by reserved seating. Pre-screening questions, no-touch temperature checks, Distanced parking, masking, distancing, and sanitizing are among the protocols which will be communicated in advance and expected of all. We do ask your understanding that while we hold this offering as something of a beta test, with a decision about subsequent months to be issued during October, based upon circumstances as they unfold. Whom might you hold in prayer this morning? What souls, what circumstances, what geographies? Might you call to mind? You're welcome even to speak a name out loud if you like. And having done so, let us not tarry and dawdle at the level of the problem, but let us bring our perception up to the level of a transcendent truth. In other words, as we would embrace people and circumstance and geography, let us create such a spaciousness that we are able to embrace them in a place of godness, that we're able to embrace them in a knowingness of life, in a knowingness of wisdom, ample to any sense of confusion or incompletion, a knowingness of sufficiency, and a knowingness of harmony. A harmony that longs to prove itself in this world of form through human hearts such as mine and through human hands such as yours. So holding each other, we lift ourselves and invite all others to come into this knowingness of everything we hold God to be. For what peace this might impart, for what hope this might ignite. We allow gratitude to be our response. We close as we always do with sung words of farewell and blessing.
May the long time sun shine upon you, all love surround you, and the pure light within you guide your way on, guide your way on, guide your